Hi, I'm Dana, and today I want to talk about autistic dating because it's one of the things that a few of you have asked me to talk about, and I do think that it's kind of just like a weird experience to have a lot of the time. It's one of the things that I do think is a little bit more complex than some of the things are, because I think so much just goes into the dating world as is without adding any sort of neurodivergence onto it, you know, and just being a woman in that sort of environment. Like there's a whole lot to it just via that. I'm also too hot, so I'm taking this off now, I'm sorry. So I got into my first relationship at 16, and it was very much just that it was the first person that had ever liked me back, and I was at a point in life where I liked pretty much anybody. If you gave me a little bit of attention and acted kind of nice to me, I was super fucking into you. So first person that showed me a little bit of attention, boom, relationship. I was 16 and he was 21, and I stayed with him for like 8 years. I do think that like a good amount of the reason that I stayed with him was that like I didn't want to have to do the dating thing again. I didn't want to have to get to know someone again and have someone get to know me and just like go through the whole thing again. Like even like as a teenager, I was just like, that was exhausting, I don't want to do that again. But obviously we'd gotten together when I was like real freaking young. So as I got older and I was like, yeah, well, I would like to like know more things about myself and explore more things about myself and figure some stuff out. And we had many a discussion until it was decided that we were going to try out polyamory. So I got onto Tinder and I met my first girlfriend and ended up with that relationship. And a whole lot of questioning my sexuality. There was a whole lot of stuff going into that, and that was where I started to see dating as a lot more of like a casual, fun, nice thing, and not like this is me finding my life soulmate I'm going to spend the rest of my life with and have children with and marry and everything. You know, like I stopped seeing it so seriously and started seeing it more as like I get to just like hang out with someone and have a nice time, and if it ends, it ends. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It was a big wake-up call for me in that regard, I think. And I've not had anything remotely serious, like anything near a relationship since that. But I've like dabbled and been on a couple of dates, and I'm currently on some dating apps. So that's what I want to talk about now that you've had like the general overview of my experiences. And it's one of the things that I find really weird, because I've had a lot of comments from people saying like, you think dating's hard? You should try being a man. And it's very frustrating. And I think it's completely overlooking the fact that as much as like my experience of the world will be different as an autistic woman, I'm still autistic. I'm still not like socially suave and cool. I still don't know how to flirt when people are flirting with me and all that kind of stuff. You know, like I still don't have the social ability to do this well. And one of the first like really big things that I struggle with when it comes to it is that I don't know how I'm meant to meet people. You know, like I don't realistically want a relationship that begins online. I don't really like messaging people. I don't often have the energy to message people. I would much rather have some sort of like organic friendship that goes that way. But I don't know how to make friends, you know, like the friends that I have are quite few and far between, and it takes a lot for me to like find people that I actually even want to be friends with, never mind then have a relationship with as well, you know. So that's where my brain does like automatically just go to dating sites, because that's like the only way that I'm aware of to really meet people. So that's where the focus is going to be a lot here. And I don't want to say I hate them, because I do think they're fun sometimes and everything, but I do hate a lot of things about them. And I do think that they're just not really, I don't think they really work out that well for most people, honestly, and especially for neurodivergent people. Just the aspect of messaging a stranger or having a stranger message you and having to actually form any sort of conversation based off of that doesn't often work for me. You know, like I can't tell you how many times I've deleted dating apps because I've just got this like realm of messages telling me that it's my turn, and every message is just some like iteration of hi, how are you, hi, how's it going, hi, how's your weekend. And like I just don't have it in me for that type of small talk, especially with just some random stranger online. And like it's not always the end of the world. I'm pretty sure that the messages that I initially exchanged with my ex-girlfriend were very like, hi, how are you doing? Like it's not impossible, but I do end up just ignoring a vast amount of those messages because I'm like, it's fine, I don't really know what to tell you here. And I think as well that because of the way dating apps are working, it is kind of lazy, but you're getting ignored by loads of people, so you don't want to go onto everyone's profile and find something to actually start a conversation about when you're probably going to get ignored. But also if they did that, I probably wouldn't ignore them. You know, the most successful conversations that I've had on any dating app are the ones where people have been like, oh, this thing in your profile, what do you think about it? But it can also get really tricky with that, because the people that do that tend to like, again, I don't want to be like, people are being lazy, but they see that I've got a picture of like me with a doctor on my profile, or I've mentioned Doctor Who, because I always mention Doctor Who. I don't want to be with someone that doesn't like Doctor Who at this point, honestly. And then they're just like, oh, who's your favourite Doctor? And then I tell them like, oh, I used to really love 9, but 13's my favourite now. And then like, let's face it, nearly every time they're like, oh, David Tennant's my favourite. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then it doesn't go anywhere, you know? That's the thing, is like, I feel like I constantly exchange like 5 messages with people when I'm on dating apps, and then that's it. And there's been a handful of times that I have actually gone on dates with people, and the thing is, when I've been on dates with women, they're so interesting, they're so fun, it's such a nice time, you know? Like, even if it just feels like friends, even if we don't have that much in common, if we don't like see or speak to each other again, it's still like a fun little thing to have done. And when I've been on dates with men, it's exhausting. Like, it's so freaking tiring. I have to like mask so hard and create so much of the conversation to make it at all fun to be there, and they just sort of like sit there looking at me like I'm like, I don't even know, you know? Like, they're just looking at me and I'm like, what the fuck do you want? Like, give me something about yourself, tell me something interesting. And like, obviously I am also like, if it's gotten to the point of a date, we've been talking online, so these are people that I did initially find interesting. Like, there was one guy I went on a date with, and he'd been on fucking University Challenge and worked in a zoo, and somehow still just had nothing interesting to say. And I think that's one of the things that really gets me, because I don't have much of a perception of myself. I don't know how I'm coming across a lot of the time. I don't know how people are perceiving me. I don't know how to like make myself be perceived in a different way to what's going on. You know, like, I just don't get all of that stuff. So I think I come across very similarly online as I do in person, like when I'm talking to people. But I also feel like everyone that I've ever met up with, I've been like, oh, you're not really what I expected, you know? And it might be that they've like well exceeded my expectations, but it may also well be that like I find them really boring, I don't really know what the fuck I'm meant to do with them, and I'm having to like mash really hard and put a lot on for them. And it's been especially awkward sometimes because they like that, you know? Like, I've been funny, I've been attentive, I've driven the conversation. Of course they're gonna be like, that was such a fun date, we should hang out again sometime. And I'm like, no, that was boring and exhausting for me, and I don't think you really actually saw any of who I am as a person, because I was having to mask so hard to not make it awkward. And like I said, I do think that's sort of just like the perils of online dating, and that's what happens with a lot of people. But I do think that there's like sort of the added thing of being an autistic person who doesn't necessarily pick up on the same like things coming across online as other people do. I've had so many conversations that I've sent to friends thinking it was sweet and nice and cute, and they've been like, Dana, this is a massive red flag, don't meet up with that person. I find it very difficult to pick up on the things that I probably should be. And even like currently, I've been talking to someone on Tinder for the last like maybe 4 or 5 days now, like consistently, like daily speaking, back and forth, fun conversation. But it's the type of thing where like they chose a thing on my bio to talk about, and then like the conversation's flowing from there and the topics like naturally changed, but the topics have all stayed very like pop culture and funny things and little anecdote. So as much as I'm like, I'm really enjoying talking to this person, I think they're really funny and blah blah blah, I don't know anything about them, you know? Like, beyond what's in their bio, I don't know anything about them. I mean, like, I do, because we've shared anecdotes, so I know like little funny stories about them. I don't know what their job is, I don't know if they work, I don't know what their family situation's like, I don't know anything about them. I don't really know how I'm supposed to act in the middle of like fun, cute conversation, you know? And I've also had a lot of conversations that are very funny and cute and whatever else, that eventually just fizzle out, because I'm like, I would like to meet up and have a coffee and see if the conversation's like this in real life, because it'd be fun and nice. But they're not suggesting it, and there's not really any gap that I feel like it's appropriate to suggest it. I don't know if they want me to, because they could also suggest it. And then it just fizzles out and I never talk to them again, you know? Like, I don't know how anything's supposed to progress. I don't know how to make things progress. And I think that's where I've often been more comfortable in situations with men, because they're more often the ones that'll be like, let's go for a drink, let's go and do this, let's hang out. Whereas it can feel like with women it's a little bit, I don't know what I'm meant to do with you. I'm trying my best here, but neither of us are really suggesting anything or progressing it, and I feel like I'm meant to, but you might not want me to, and I don't want to like overcross any boundaries or anything. Like, I think I care a lot more about women, honestly, and like their opinion of me and how I come across to them, so I'm much more anxious about it. I overthink it a lot more. Whereas with men, I just don't care that much. So I'm like, if you ask me out for a drink, I'll go out for a drink, but I'm not going to ask a man out for a drink. I really don't care that much. And it might be a good sign that I should stop dating men, to be fair. And like, that's crossing over into like my whole sexuality thing, but I do think it's some degree of like, I think I could be happy with a man if a single man that I was around was nice, you know? Like, if I just found one good one, I reckon I could be happy enough. And like, they're all, basically every issue that I have when it comes to dating are things that I think that everybody tends to have when it comes to dating if you're doing it in the way that I am. but a lot of other people have better ways of like getting around it and dealing with it, and don't have the added extra bits of this isn't playing into it, you know? As much as I do think that like most people are gonna get a little bit nervous, a little bit shy and a little bit nervous, and like maybe not be there as confident as they usually would be and whatever else, like I straight up don't know what to say at the best of times, never mind when someone's possibly trying to flirt with me, when someone has made like an actual move of like, yes, I've matched with you because I think you're attractive, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I meant to do now? I don't like it. I really wish that it was more of like an online blind date thing where like you match with the person and then you go out for a drink, you know? I wish it was much more in-person based rather than like all of these online messages exchanged and not knowing if it's actually going to go anywhere. And that's why like I have looked at like speed dating and that kind of thing in like a real life situation, but I also like, it just makes me really anxious. I just don't want to do that. And that feels like having a little dating app on your phone feels very casual and non-serious, whereas going to an event that's like made for dating feels very like, I'm looking for a partner. And it's one of those things where like I'm a bit of like, I don't know the words for it, and I'm not really an old romantic, but you know, like I do like the whole like idea of like there's someone out there for everyone, and there's someone that meshes perfectly with you, and there's a soulmate and blah blah blah. Like I would like to have somebody to love and be loved by and all that shit, but I'm also not like it's not my be all and end all, you know? Like I'm not entirely sure that I want to get married and have kids and do all that kind of thing. My best friend is the most important person to me and will be regardless of if I have a partner or not. Like there's a lot of things within my life that aren't set up in a way that most people would expect it to be, to then have a partner integrate into that. So I just don't feel like I'm necessarily as like, I don't know, conventional maybe. But then like the dating world's gone such like an opposite spectrum of things that when people say unconventional, it's all like polyamory and open relationship and stuff, and I also don't really want that. I do really appreciate like loyalty in a relationship, I found out after my last one. So like, you know, like I don't think I'm necessarily like dating in a conventional way or looking to date in a conventional way, but I also don't think I'm looking for the type of unconventional other people mean when they say unconventional. And finally, I want to touch on that I do think that I have a lot of valid anxiety that a lot of neurotypical people wouldn't have to carry within the dating pool, the dating scene, because I don't know what a lot of things fucking mean, you know? I absolutely hate it when a man asks me if I want to go for coffee, because I'm like, is it a date, is it a friend thing, are we like, what is it? And especially if you're like, I've had men in bars be like, do you want to go for a coffee? And I'm like, it's 11 p.m, where's going to serve coffee? And they laugh and I'm like, I don't, are you asking me to like go back to yours? Like I don't know what you mean, you know? Like so much of like everything's got a fucking term for it in dating, and nobody tells you what the terms are, and people say these like random little sayings and random phrases, and it's like weeks or months or years later that I realise something was like, that was implying something, you know? I don't pick up on all of these like cues and things that people say, and it absolutely baffles me. And that means that I've had so many situations, like not romantic situations per se, but like dating situations of whatever type, where someone said something, I've replied with what I think's a normal thing to say, and they're like, no, it means this. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just fucking say that? Why are you making up all sorts of little like songs and dances to try and put across what you mean? I really, you know, it's not even that like I can't be bothered with it or I don't like it, it's like I literally don't understand what you're saying and now you're laughing at me. And it just, like, I've had a lot of situations like that where I feel like genuinely humiliated, and it's really fucking horrible, you know? I do think it's something that's easier now because I just straight up put that I'm autistic in my bio, so if someone did that and then laughed at me, I'd be like, I'm autistic, like what did you expect? Why are you laughing at a disabled person? Like I wouldn't just like feel bad about it now. Like I would be able to say something, but I would still feel bad. And I think that's the main issue with dating as a whole, is that like so much of it is reading between the lines and doing this and doing that and knowing what you're supposed to do and knowing what the person wants, and I just haven't got a fucking clue, and I wish someone would tell me so that I can do it right, because I'd love to. You know, it'd be lovely to like please someone and make them happy and have them love me and shit, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm meant to do, and no one fucking tells you. And then everyone's so nervous about their own shit that they're hiding all sorts, and I hate it. Just be open and nice and like fucking meet people and chat and see how things go. I don't like how like just serious and overthought it is, you know? So yeah, that's the video. I've been talking for forever and I feel like I said nothing, so I'm gonna go now. you can catch me here on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, so do subscribe if you want to see more content. Maybe give this video a like if you did like it. I also post over on TikTok quite often and occasionally over on Instagram, so they'll all be linked down below. And I will also be putting links to my Patreon and Ko-fi if you would like to donate to me financially. But there's no pressure to, you don't have to. I like that my content's free, I like that it's accessible to all. But if you want to, it is there. It's up to you. Like I say, there's no pressure, you don't have to, it's all fine. Everything's okay. So whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.